We all know how difficult it can be to accept and admit that we are wrong. You may want to avoid the embarrassment of looking stupid or weak, or maybe you want to take comfort in your ideas and beliefs by firmly sticking to them, even when they are challenged. But though this may make you feel better in the short term, it will only harm you over time, as an inability to be wrong and own up to your mistakes greatly hinders your personal growth. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how being wrong can develop you as a person, from improving your relationships to changing your mindset to learning from your mistakes. You've probably come across someone who seems to never admit when they are wrong, so you'll know how frustrating it can be to communicate with them. When you try to put a point across to someone like this, they'll say anything to defend themselves, or if you try to express that you are upset, they avoid taking responsibility, creating further conflict or shutting down the conversation. Now, even if you don't believe that you are this type of person, you can always work on being more open to what people are telling you, or to the possibility that they know more than you in a certain area, or maybe that you've wronged them. It can be ingrained in us from a young age to believe that we'll look foolish or weak if we admit that we are wrong, but in reality, people will respect you and you'll gain trust, provided that the people you're talking with are actually mature enough to start with. Your humility makes you stand out and leave a positive impression on the people who matter to you, as they recognize and appreciate your ability to place what's morally right over satisfying your ego. You're also displaying intelligence and empathy by listening to different viewpoints without getting defensive. Ultimately, it's just far more pleasant to be around this type of person who listens to you and accepts your opinions and beliefs without stubbornly rejecting or dismissing them. This type of person can also respectfully disagree with you without invalidating your emotions. We should all strive to be more like this in order to strengthen and improve our relationships, and we can start by getting more comfortable with being wrong. Being wrong doesn't just apply to your relationships or when someone challenges you, it also applies to your own thoughts and beliefs. An inability to be wrong will prevent you from replacing your current thoughts and beliefs with newer and better ones. A couple of years ago, I was convinced that I would be unable to gain six-pack abs, because after working hard for over a year, I only managed to lose a little bit of fat. But I refused to consider that I was wrong about how long it would take, or what foods I needed to eat, or how hard I needed to work in the gym. Luckily, I kept going, and a year later, what I once deemed impossible is what I achieved. And so now, I do my best to not be so rigid with my thoughts and beliefs anymore. I could be wrong about this YouTube channel, or how I view myself, how I view others, my university degree, etc. When it comes to your thoughts and beliefs, I believe that it's best to not attach so strongly to them, so that you can instead be open to new ones that will serve you better in the future. If you're watching this video, then I'm assuming you're on self-improvement, so you should know that you can improve far more effectively once you are willing to be wrong. You develop self-awareness when you do this, so you're able to see your strengths and weaknesses better and work on yourself far more effectively. One of the greatest philosophers to ever live, Socrates, famously said, "I know that I know nothing." And this paradoxical statement is what separates the wisest of us from the rest. To assume that you are ignorant means that you know you have so much more to learn. And it doesn't mean that you actually have to believe you are stupid, but be conscious of believing in things that you know little to nothing about, and you open your mind up to many more ideas, changing your mindset so that you can develop more effectively. Mistakes are learning opportunities, but when we are stubborn, we miss out on them. Navigating through life while struggling or refusing to admit and own your mistakes makes repeating them inevitable. I've come across people who've apparently done nothing wrong in all of their previous relationships. It's always them who were mistreated or taken for granted, and it was always the other person who was to blame. And yet these people continue to get involved with apparently the exact same type of other people over and over again. And funny enough, all the relationships fail in a similar manner. I could explain the problem here, but hopefully you can deduce that the person who claims to be perfect is at least a little bit to blame. The thing is, whenever life is tough, there is always something to be learned, even if it looks like what happened to you was not your fault. Closing your mind off with the certainty that you are a victim and that you know everything there is to the situation already prevents this learning. Someone did something very hurtful to me not long ago, and it greatly affected me, but I now see that I was wrong to have a victim mentality. Not because it was my fault that this person did what they did to me, but rather because playing the blame game and pitying myself only hurt me further. Instead, I now choose to take action and recognize that it never would have happened in the first place had I been wiser to start with. And again, this is not to blame myself, but rather to recognize what lessons I can take from this experience and apply them moving forward. Otherwise, I'm only hindering my growth if I remain in that victim mentality. So yes, even your very thoughts and reactions to events can be wrong if we define wrong as causing you to suffer and not learn. But you won't even consider this if you believe that you are right to feel and think a certain way to start with. And there is a fine line between respecting your emotions, but also recognizing that having a different mindset that causes you to grow will serve you better in the future. Of course, this applies to every aspect of your life, not just relationships. Don't stubbornly make the same mistakes over and over again and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. Assume that you know less than you already think that you do, and learning from your mistakes becomes a lot easier. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you can now see how being wrong actually makes you a better person. Subscribe for more wisdom and tips that you can apply to your life. I'll see you in my next video.